Title this video, if you're a great martial artist, then prove it. I do speak against the combat sport because of the dangers involved, the unhealthiness of it, the concussions, and even there's more research that they're finding out that football is even more dangerous than they originally thought. And here they're even wearing helmets. But at the same time, even though combat sport is dangerous, there's a certain way that you could approach sparring in order to have it not be as dangerous. So, with all this time that has passed and all these great athletes that have ever expressed themselves throughout, history, just through the time that I've lived, I've seen many great athletes. And I only lived 35 years, or about 34 years. And I've seen so many great athletes that I don't really see a reason to ever idolize some mythical figure, that existed hundreds of years ago or even thousands of years ago. Because with technology, we're just exposed to just so much that why believe in something that may not even be true when you could see with your own very own eyes something that is true. So what I'm talking about is like these traditional styles, where the founders have died hundreds of years ago or even thousands of years ago, and then people today still look to these founders as if of these styles as if they're like godlike or something like that. And it's all in their head, and I want to talk about something like Wing Chun, for example. The founder, the creator died, a woman died over 400 years ago. And it's just like no documentation of this person like there is documentation, in modern times. I just looked up the Olympics and they said that the modern Olympics started in like 1896. So that's a little bit, it's over 100 years ago. They started documenting these amazing athletes. And if you look at the records from 1896 up to this moment, the athletes have been getting better and better, and how the world records have just been breaking. They just keep breaking these world records through time. So the athletes are getting more developed because of nutrition and science and all sorts of things, training methods. So if in the Olympics you could see athletes steadily progressing and even getting better and better, then imagine the athletes back over 400 years ago during Wing Chun's time compared to now. I mean, the nutrition was not as good, the science was not as good, and then how could somebody like Wing Chun, the creator of Wing Chun, even be close, being a woman, even be close to being better than Bruce Lee? There's even people to this day, it's hard for people to even get better than how, Bruce Lee's expression. So what makes me dumbfounded is how come there's so many followers of this founder of Wing Chun over followers of Bruce Lee. You know, because if people truly wanted to be followers of Bruce Lee, they would not be following Wing Chun, the creator of Wing Chun. They'd be following Bruce Lee, the creator of Jeet Kune Do. You know, and that's the thing that doesn't make sense to me. You know, if people don't want to follow Bruce Lee, okay, fine. There's a lot of great athletes out there that have existed and are still existing today that I feel that are much more worth following than the creator of Wing Chun, who died like over 400 years ago, which you know nothing about. Like, for example, it is to my opinion that I feel that even somebody like Jean-Claude Van Damme would be much better than the creator of Wing Chun. Somebody like even Chuck Norris would be better than the creator of Wing Chun. Clearly, somebody like Floyd Mayweather Jr. would be better than the creator of Wing Chun. Manny Pacquiao would be better than the creator of Wing Chun. Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, Jet Li, Tony Jaa, Donnie Yen, even Jackie Chan. I mean, all these living people that have proven themselves, you know, they don't necessarily have to fight in a real fight. They don't necessarily have to compete in a combat sport. But just seeing them, seeing photos of them, seeing videos of them, seeing them acting in movies, seeing them punching and kicking and practicing forms and practicing weapons, and just seeing them makes a big difference to me. And you see all this talent of all these different people that have lived, expressing themselves in the martial arts and in combat sport. And then you're telling me that somebody who died over 400 years ago, that's a woman, is even worth following? You know, it just doesn't really make sense to me. And that's just one example. I'm throwing all the other examples in there for all styles, such as Aikido, for example. The founder of Aikido didn't die too long ago. I think he probably died around the age of around the time when Bruce Lee died. I mean, I've seen a picture of the guy because I have one of his books, but other than that, I've never seen any videos of him when he was younger. I mean, I've read some of his books. He has some good books. You know, I don't doubt that spiritually he's developed, but as far as combatively, I don't know. I question that. I really do. You know, but as far as Taekwondo is concerned, and what's being represented with Taekwondo, I mean, I've seen some videos of some real hardcore, real Taekwondo artists from Korea, and you know, like multiple practitioners, over 20 of them performing, and the stuff that they were doing was really amazing, and I was impressed, you know, with what they're doing. So even though Taekwondo's reputation in America is just completely destroyed because of commercialization and just corruption and just exploitation, I know that the real Taekwondo artists out there in Korea are represented to a high level. And even with the Shaolin monks and what they do from the real ones from the Shaolin Temple, they're representing it to a high level. But certain things like Wing Chun, I don't see it being represented at a high level at all. And I'm sick of the Chinese martial arts being constantly, from people that I've met, all the time they're always referring to Wing Chun. And it's just really annoying, you know, because I don't see any talent coming from there. I see talent, you know, obviously from Bruce Lee, but he was representing Jeet Kune Do. I see talent from the Shaolin monks, Shaolin Kung Fu. But then why does everybody keep referencing Wing Chun? When it comes to the Chinese martial arts, I don't get it. Jet Li was representing a form of wushu. Even Jackie Chan was representing something else. Even Donnie Yen didn't practice Wing Chun. And they are pretty talented. And what I'm basically saying is, like, great martial artists, they will prove themselves in one way or another. Like I said, they don't have to do combat sport. Jackie Chan didn't do it, Donnie Yen didn't do it, Bruce Lee didn't do it, Jet Li didn't do it. Like, but they're expressing their art. If you're a painter and then you want to say that you're a great painter, but then when someone asks to look at your paintings, you don't want to show anybody. Like, why? It's like this has nothing to do with receiving concussions or giving somebody else a concussion or hurting somebody or you brain hurt. I mean, it's just people want to see your art. And when they see your art, then they'll see, they could assess, according to their opinion, what level do they think that you're at. And even Jean-Claude Van Damme, when he was making those movies, he's pretty talented. You could actually see what he could do. You know what I mean? Like, when a martial artist, he doesn't even have to fight somebody. He could just do the splits, and then you already see how flexible he is. You could just watch him kick, and you can see his kicking techniques and his skill. Just watch him punch. Watch him do some exercises. Watch him lift some weights. Watch him do some shadow boxing or kickboxing. Watch him hit the bag, hit the focus mitts. I mean, like, whoever you plan to admire to be like your teacher in the martial arts, you should see what they could do. But the thing is, with these followers of Wing Chun, what the founder of the Wing Chun, what was this person able to do? I don't see anything. It doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. It's all fake. It's all stories. Fake stories. Like Yip Man, for example, is just an old bald guy. Looks completely frail and weak. Like he could barely move. Like close to death. And then they start making these movies about Yip Man as if he was like somehow 10 times greater than Bruce Lee ever was. I mean, Yip Man 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Yip Man, whatever, just banking off of these movies, off of something that just never existed. You know, to look up to Yip Man or to a Win Chun that died over 400 years ago, you might as well look up to like Spider-Man, the Wolverine, X-Men, Superman, you know, Batman. Look up to these comic book figures that just don't exist because they really don't exist. It's just all in their mind, all in their head. You know, to me, the Wing Chun is more. If they claim more of a meditative experience, more of like a basic woman's self defense class, very basic, more like a just a little bit more combative version of a Tai Chi, then I would understand and I would respect that. But when people try to claim Wing Chun to be like the ultimate martial art, ultimate self defense, I really have to completely disagree with that. That's not what it's for. It's like trying to join a yoga class for self defense. I mean, that's not what it's designed for. It's designed for like spiritual enlightenment and meditation and health and flexibility. And that's kind of how I view Wing Chun. Like the real martial arts is like the Jeet Kune Do. You know, the real stuff. Like for street survival. You know, so I say that, you know, that every martial artist that wants to teach, especially if they want to make money teaching, they gotta prove themselves in some way or another. And that's what's expected. I mean, so many people have proven themselves through all this time that you could see on video. Why even bother with the past like that? With people that's, you know, to me it's just false. It's fake. You know, and like I said with the Olympics, you see through time the it's been documented. Over 100 years of documentation just showing how these athletes have been getting better and better through time. That I don't even see that it's necessary for people to follow like false figures of the past that have absolutely no documentation to prove their level of expression in the martial arts. You know, I just say that I think a lot of the people that look up to Bruce Lee that are practicing Wing Chun, in my opinion, they're practicing the wrong thing. If you're truly a follower of Bruce Lee, then you should be practicing Jeet Kune Do. And if you're not practicing Jeet Kune Do, then you should be practicing your own way in the martial arts. Because Bruce Lee is supposed to bring you back to yourself. Going to Wing Chun is essentially going backwards. It's like a father that makes a mistake and he's teaching you not to go in that direction, then you go anyway and you make the mistake yourself, And not only do you not learn from the mistake, but you keep making the same mistake over and over again, and you get stuck. It's like falling into a ditch and then you never get out. It's like Bruce Lee said, hey, don't go there. There's a ditch. And if you fall in there, you're going to have a hard time getting out. I was able to get out. I got out and I created Jeet Kune Do. And then you go ahead and don't listen to him. You fall in the ditch yourself and you end up not even getting out. You stuck there. And then you think, oh, he started off here, so I'll start off here too. And then you just pretty much went backwards. Because if you listen to him from the get-go, you would have been moving forwards and you would have progressed so much quicker, because you would have been going in the right direction from the very beginning. So that's what I see. I see that, in my opinion, I think that a lot of the people that are practicing Wing Chun are essentially students that belong to Bruce, that were stolen by Wing Chun. And then the Wing Chun used Bruce as a marketing tool to spread their corruption to the students. And I'm strictly talking in a combative sense. If this was a spiritual matter, then it really doesn't matter. I mean, but I'm talking about in the combative sense. I think, there's a lot of corruption when it comes to that aspect. I think a lot of the Chinese martial arts are more of a spiritual, practice. From Tai Chi to Wing Chun to the Shaolin, it's more of a spiritual practice. Even the Shaolin monks, yeah, they're really talented in what they do, but it's more of a spiritual experience. You could tell it's more performance based. Even wushu is like very acrobatic. It's more performance based, it's more spiritual, and I think that's what Bruce Lee didn't like about the Chinese martial arts, is that, it's all spiritual, it's all religious, but where the hell is the effective combat? It just doesn't exist. And he's like, you know what, I gotta create something to represent the Chinese martial arts that actually works. Because this Wing Chun stuff is just a bunch of nonsense. And he created Jeet Kune Do. And people that want to try to use the Chinese martial arts as being combatively superior, they will look like fools, because none of these traditional systems are developed for that. But Jeet Kune Do is developed for that. To be combatively capable for modern times. And in addition, it does have the spiritual component as well. It retains the spiritual essence of the Chinese martial arts. But I definitely cannot say the same thing for Wing Chun. Like, not at all. Can't say that for Tai Chi. I can't say that for the Shaolin either. Like, I don't see much of anything coming from China that is where the combative aspect has been refined and applied for survival today in modern times. You have to create that on your own. You know, that's pretty much what you gotta do. And I see that's why, like, when it comes to being effective for the streets, why a lot of the Chinese martial arts they don't get that respect. A lot of the Chinese people don't even care about that stuff. But you just have a lot of Americans that try to claim the Chinese martial arts styles of the past and give this type of disguise that it's really effective for the streets when it's not. Like, you have to modify it and make it effective through your own study and research and creation and development. I think China is just a step above India as far as maintaining the martial arts, but it's more of a spiritual practice and more of like a health and entertainment. India went the route of all meditation. China's meditation and spiritual performance, and then a little bit of the combat. And if you ever study any of the Chinese martial arts and you want to make it effective for the streets, you have to modify it and discover yourself, you know, the ways of modifying the techniques in order to make it truly effective for street survival. So the people that are really truly interested in learning how to defend themselves in the streets, and you're looking towards the Chinese martial arts, let's say you gotta go to Bruce Lee and Jeet Kune Do, and there's really nothing else coming out of China that's really gonna be effective for that. But if you're looking at the Chinese martial arts more of for a spiritual practice, for health, longevity, then hey, you know, then Wing Chun can be the way to go. Tai Chi, Shaolin martial arts, Hung Gar, any of those things coming out of China is more of a peaceful practice, more of a spiritual practice. You know, because not all the time is it always about fighting. Some people just don't care about that stuff. You know, but for those are the people that want to learn something that's truly effective, you know, a lot of times you're gonna have to find a way on your own. You know, most of these systems out there have either turned into a religious and spiritual practice, or it has been modified for the sporting industry, modified for entertainment purposes, but it's up to you to modify it for survival. And Bruce Lee did it. Everything that he learned, he modified it for survival. And that's what I'm doing as well. And for the people out there that really want to practice martial arts for the survival aspect, they're going to have to learn to do it themselves. So essentially you have to become like your own scientist. You can conduct your own experiments, come to your own conclusions. And then once you do that, it's no longer a style that exists, but it's a style that you've created. And then it deserves a new label, a new name. And that's essentially what I see.